Chicago O'Hare, Gate 23. My mother, Christina, and my stepfather, Frank, stood there in their cashmere coats, looking like the picture of first-class success. They told me I was heading to an elite boarding school in Vermont. Then, the lie shattered. Christina didn't hand me a boarding pass. She handed me a travel pouch containing $240 and my birth certificate. "You're smart, Haley," she said, checking her reflection in the glass. "Figure it out." Then they turned and walked toward the lounge. I stood there, 15 years old, realizing I wasn't a student. I was excess baggage. Before we dive into this mess, drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community. I didn't run after them. I didn't scream. I stood there, watching the automatic doors swallow the only parent I had ever known. And I did what I always do when the world stops making sense. I looked at the structure. I analyzed the load-bearing walls of the lie my mother had built, and for the first time, I saw the cracks. This wasn't a sudden decision. It was a controlled demolition, planned weeks in advance. The acceptance letter to the boarding school in Vermont? Fake. I realize now the letterhead was slightly pixelated, printed on the heavy bond paper Frank used for his real estate proposals. The uniform fittings we were supposed to have? Canceled 3 times. The shopping trip to Michigan Avenue last week? Christina had bought 3 cashmere coats for herself and a new watch for Frank. When I asked about my winter gear, she waved a manicured hand and said, "They provide everything on campus. Haley, don't be greedy." It wasn't just the trip. It was the slow, methodical erasure of my presence from their lives. 3 months ago, they moved my bedroom to the finished basement. "It's for the staging," Christina had said. "We need the upstairs to look pristine for the Architectural Digest shoot." I became a ghost in my own home, instructed to stay downstairs when Frank's investors came over, erased from the family Christmas card because 3 is a more balanced composition than 4. I used to think I was doing something wrong. I thought if I was quieter, smarter, or less visible, she would finally look at me with something other than that tight-lipped tolerance. But standing there in the terminal, holding a pouch that weighed less than a textbook, the truth finally clicked into place. It wasn't about what I did. It was about what I reflected. Christina didn't hate me because I was a bad daughter. She hated me because I was a living, breathing mirror. Every time she looked at my face, my dark eyes, the sharp line of my jaw, she didn't see her child. She saw him. The man she had lost. The past she was desperate to bury under Frank's faux marble countertops and leased luxury cars. I was the walking evidence of her biggest failure, a structural flaw in the perfect facade she was building with Frank. Narcissists don't love people. They love reflections. And I was the one reflection she couldn't control. To secure her new life, to keep Frank's attention and his wallet, she didn't just need to send me away. She needed to smash the mirror. She thought she was discarding a burden. She didn't realize she was handing me the blueprints to my own survival. I looked down at the birth certificate in my hand. It wasn't just a piece of paper. It was the key to the one door she had spent 15 years trying to keep locked. And now, she had been arrogant enough to put it right in my hand. I opened the pouch. Inside, next to the $240, was the birth certificate. I scanned the lines until I found it. Father Timothy Blackwood. The name hit me like a physical blow. Timothy Blackwood, the tech billionaire. The man whose face was on the cover of Wired magazine last month for his breakthroughs in green energy infrastructure. My mother had told me my father was a nobody, a drifter who left before I was born. Another lie, another crack in the foundation. I dug deeper into the pouch, my fingers brushing against something hard and cold. It wasn't paper. It was a USB drive, sleek and silver, taped to the inside lining. Christina must have forgotten it was there, a relic from a life she thought she had deleted. I found an internet kiosk, plugged it in, and waited. A single video file popped up. It was dated 12 years ago. I clicked play. A younger Timothy Blackwood appeared on the screen, looking tired but determined. "Haley," he said, looking directly into the camera. "If you're seeing this, it means your mother has kept her word to keep me away. But I need you to know, I didn't leave. I was pushed out, and I will never stop looking for you. If you ever need me, call this number." A phone number flashed on the screen. I didn't hesitate. I didn't tremble. I pulled out my phone and dialed. It rang once. Twice? Blackwood, a voice answered. It was deep, calm, commanding. "This is Haley," I said. "I'm at Chicago O'Hare, Gate 23. There was a silence on the other end, heavy and charged. Then, a single word that changed the axis of my world. Don't move. He didn't ask questions. He didn't ask for proof. He acted. Within 2 hours, a team of 4 men in dark suits approached me. They didn't look like airport security. They looked like a private army. Miss Blackwood? The leader asked. We're here to take you home. They escorted me out of the terminal, bypassing the crowds, bypassing the TSA lines, bypassing the life I was supposed to live. We walked onto the tarmac where a sleek, silver jet was waiting, its engines already humming. As I climbed the stairs, I looked back at the city of Chicago one last time. Christina and Frank were probably sipping champagne in first class right now, congratulating themselves on solving their Haley problem. They thought they had discarded me. They thought they had sent me away to disappear. They were wrong. They hadn't thrown me away. They had handed me back to the one person powerful enough to destroy them. As the jet lifted off, banking over the skyline, I realized I wasn't just a passenger anymore. I was the pilot. And I was setting a new course. The estate in Lake Tahoe wasn't just a home. It was a fortress of glass, steel, and timber perched on the edge of the water. As the car pulled up the winding driveway, I didn't feel awe. I felt like I was entering a new, more expensive cage. Timothy Blackwood opened the door for me, his face pale. During the flight, I had filled in the gaps. The boarding school in Vermont was a lie. The Swiss boarding school he thought he had been paying for? Also a lie. He looked at me wearing jeans I'd bought at a thrift store and carrying a backpack that held my entire life, and I saw the devastation behind his eyes. He wasn't just angry, he was mourning the 10 years of fatherhood Christina had stolen from him. Inside, he introduced me to Leah Sterling. She wasn't the warm, grandmotherly type. She was a shark in a tailored suit, her eyes scanning me not with pity, but with assessment. We're going to fix this, she said, her voice sharp and precise. But first, I need access to everything. Every email, every text, every lie she ever told you. I liked her immediately. She didn't offer me a hug, she offered me a weapon. That night, they gave me a suite that was bigger than the entire basement apartment I had lived in for the last 3 months. The bed was draped in Egyptian cotton. The view was a panoramic shot of the moonlit lake. It was the kind of luxury people dream about. But as soon as the heavy oak door clicked shut, the panic set in. I couldn't sleep. The silence was too loud. It felt heavy, expectant, like the calm before a demolition. I got up and paced the room. My survival instincts, honed over years of walking on eggshells, were screaming that this was too good to be true. There was always a cost. There was always a catch. My hands found the travel pouch Christina had given me. $240. To Timothy, that was a rounding error. To me, it was the emergency exit. I pulled the bills out and walked to the bed. I lifted the heavy mattress and taped the cash to the underside of the frame. Then, I found my backpack. I packed a change of clothes, a bottle of water from the minibar, and the USB drive. I shoved it under the bed, within arm's reach. A soft knock interrupted my preparations. I froze. "Come in," I said, my voice steady. Timothy opened the door. He was still wearing his dress shirt, sleeves rolled up. He saw the backpack peeking out from under the bed. He saw the way I was standing, weight on my back foot, ready to run. "You don't have to do that," he said quietly. "You're safe here, Haley." "I know. I lied. It's just a habit." He walked further into the room but kept his distance, respecting the perimeter I had unconsciously established. "You're waiting for the bill," he said. It wasn't a question. "You're waiting for me to tell you what this costs. Or you're waiting for me to change my mind and send you back." I looked at him, really looked at him. He didn't look like a billionaire. He looked like a man who had been hollowed out. "It's the phantom limb," I said. "When you spend your whole life losing things, safety feels like a trap. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, Timothy, because in my experience, it always does." He nodded, accepting the truth of it. "I can't erase the last 15 years, he said. "But I promise you this. There is no other shoe. The only thing dropping tomorrow is the hammer on your mother's life. Try to sleep, we have work to do." He closed the door. I didn't sleep, but I did untie my shoes. It was a start. 2 days later, Leah walked into the study and dropped a thick binder onto the mahogany desk. The sound echoed like a gavel strike. "We have it," she said. "The paper trail. And Haley, you were right. It's ugly." Timothy and I sat down. Leah opened the binder. Inside were bank statements, wire transfers, and emails thousands of pages documenting a decade of systematic theft. For 10 years, Leah began, Timothy has been paying tuition for a boarding school in Switzerland. Full tuition, room, board, travel expenses, totaling $456,000. She slid a spreadsheet across the desk. But that money never went to Switzerland. It went to a shell company registered in Delaware, Educational Consulting Partners, LLC. The sole signatory on that account is Christina. I looked at the numbers. $456,000. That was the price tag on my erasure. But it didn't stop there. From the LLC, Leah continued, the money was funneled directly into Frank's construction business, Apex Developments. But here's the kicker. Apex has been insolvent for 5 years. Frank has been using your tuition money to pay off creditors, cover bad loans, and maintain the appearance of success. He's been laundering money through a fake school to hide his bankruptcy. My mother hadn't just abandoned me. She had committed federal wire fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. And Frank wasn't just a bystander. He was the beneficiary. There's more, Leah said, her voice dropping lower. She pulled out a credit report. My credit report. Frank used your social security number to open 3 lines of credit when you were 12. They're maxed out and in default. Your credit score is trashed before you even had a chance to build it. I felt cold, numb. It wasn't just about getting rid of me, it was about consuming me. They had eaten my past to feed their present, and they had mortgaged my future to pay for their mistakes. Timothy stood up, his face hard as stone. Enough, he said. They're done. When do we move? The charity gala is tonight, Leah said, a shark-like grin spreading across her face. Christina is launching her new foundation. Frank is announcing his comeback project. All the investors will be there. The press will be there. Perfect, Timothy said. He looked at me. Haley, you don't have to go. We can handle this legally. You can stay here. I thought about the airport. I thought about the basement room. I thought about the mirror Christina had tried to smash. No, I said. I'm coming. I want to see the look on her face when the glass house shatters. We didn't take the helicopter. Too flashy. Timothy wanted them to see us arrive on the ground, real and undeniable. We pulled up to the gala in a black SUV. The venue was stunning, a ballroom in downtown Chicago with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the skyline. Inside, the city's elite were sipping champagne, unaware that they were standing in a crime scene. I stepped out of the car. I wasn't wearing my thrift store jeans anymore. I was wearing a dress Leah had helped me pick out, sleek, sharp, and expensive. It was armor. Timothy offered me his arm. Ready to tear it down? He asked. Let's find the load-bearing wall, I said. We walked in. The room went quiet in waves as people recognized Timothy Blackwood. Whispers started. Heads turned. And then, I saw them. Christina and Frank were holding court near the stage, looking radiant and triumphant. Christina was laughing, her head thrown back, until she saw me. Her laughter died. The color drained from her face so fast she looked like a statue. Frank followed her gaze and choked on his drink. We walked straight up to them. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Christina tried to recover, putting on her best concerned mother mask. Haley? Oh my God, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be at school. Is everything okay? I didn't let her finish. There is no school, Mom, I said, my voice projecting clearly across the silent room. Just like there was no tuition. Just like there was no boarding school in Switzerland. Haley, you're making a scene, Frank hissed, stepping forward. We can talk about this outside. No, Timothy said, stepping in front of me. We're talking right here. I pulled the forensic report from my clutch. It was heavy, bound in clear plastic. I held it out to Frank. I brought you a gift, Frank. It's the audit of Educational Consulting Partners, LLC. $456,000 laundered, wire fraud, embezzlement, identity theft. Frank stared at the report like it was a bomb. He didn't take it. So I let it fall from my hand. It hit the floor with a sound that felt like judgment. You built this life on a foundation of sand, I said, looking at my mother. You thought you could bury me in the basement and use my future to pay for your present. But you forgot one thing about architecture, Mom. If the foundation is rotten, the whole house comes down. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting louder. The The blue and red lights began to flash against the ballroom windows, reflecting off the terrified faces of their guests. "You're done," Timothy said. "The assets are frozen. The accounts are seized. The feds are outside." I watched Christina's face crumble. The mask didn't just slip, it shattered. She looked at Frank, then at me, then at the guests who were now backing away from her. The structure of her life, the social standing, the wealth, the reputation collapsed in real time. "Haley, please," she whispered, grabbing my arm. "I did it for us." I pulled away, brushing off her touch like dust. "No," I said. "You did it for you. And now, you can pay for it." The doors burst open. Federal agents swarmed the room. I turned my back on the chaos, took Timothy's arm, and walked out. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what a demolition looked like. I didn't go to the trial. I didn't need to see them in handcuffs to know it was over. I had seen the structure collapse, and that was enough. Christina and Frank were indicted on multiple counts of wire fraud, embezzlement, and identity theft. They were facing years in prison, but honestly, I stopped tracking the case after the arraignment. I had my own work to do. I got into architecture school. My portfolio wasn't traditional, but my essay was. I wrote about the psychology of space, how buildings can either trap you or set you free. I wrote about designing for safety, about creating structures that protect the people inside them rather than just looking good from the street. 6 months later, I sat on the deck of the Tahoe estate with Timothy. The lake was calm, a sheet of blue glass reflecting the mountains. Spread out on the table between us were the blueprints for my first real project, The Haven, a community center for at-risk youth in Chicago. It was designed to be everything my childhood home wasn't: open, light-filled, and unbreakable. Timothy traced a line on the blueprint. "It's good work, Haley," he said. "Solid foundation." "I learned from the best," I said, smiling at him. I pulled out my phone. There was one last piece of debris to clear. I opened my photo gallery and found the only picture I had left of Christina, a selfie she took the day before she abandoned me, smiling in her new coat. I looked at it one last time. I didn't feel anger anymore. I didn't feel hate. I just felt nothing. She was a ghost story I had finished reading. I hit delete. "Ready?" Timothy asked. "Ready," I said. We rolled up the blueprints and walked back inside. The glass house didn't feel like a cage anymore. It felt like home. Family isn't about whose blood you carry. It's about who stands beside you when the walls start to shake. It's about who helps you clear the rubble and who hands you the tools to build something new. I had to lose everything to find the people who would help me rebuild. And looking at the life I have now, the work I do, the father I found, the future I'm designing, I know one thing for sure. I survived the demolition, and the view from here is beautiful. If this story resonated with you, or if you've ever had to rebuild your life from the ground up, hit that like button and share this video. You never know who needs to hear that they can survive the demolition. Thanks for watching.